Hello guys, my name's John, I'm the Geeky Fanboy, and as you might guess from the outfit and from the title of the video obviously, today I am finally reviewing Good Omens, and I'm saying finally because I've been waiting for this show for so long. Okay, a bit of background story. I have read the book. I've read it a couple of months ago, I think back in October or something, when I found out there was going to be a show with actors involved I really liked, so I wanted to read the book beforehand. Also, the book is in part written by Neil Gaiman, who is one of my absolute favorite authors. So, of course, I had to check it out anyway, but then the show got announced and I was like, yep, gotta read it before that show comes out. Okay, for those who don't know, the show is based on a book, also called Good Omens, which was written, I think, in 1990 or something, by Neil Gaiman and also the late Terry Pratchett. The show is, luckily, as I found out, also written by Neil Gaiman. So when I read that he's writing all the episodes and everything, I was quite assured that this was gonna be good and faithful to the novel. And I wanted to watch the show because not only is it based on a story by one of my favorite authors, also some really good actors are involved in this show. First off, David Tennant, obviously I can't deny that, I'm a huge fan of David Tennant and his work as an actor. So when I found out that he was cast in this show as a demon, I was like, oh yeah, I gotta check that story out. And as it turned out, his character, who we're going to talk about in a second, turned out to be my favourite character in the book and in the show, so there's that. Okay, so what is Good Omens about? Good Omens is about mainly an angel named Aziraphale and a demon named Crawley, who are meant to kind of look after the Antichrist, sort of, but there's a mix-up and they care about the wrong kid who's just a normal human, and then it turns out, oh, it's actually this other boy we have not paid attention to at all, and now he's coming into his power as the Antichrist, which means Armageddon is about to happen. So they are trying to, well, basically prevent the apocalypse. All the while the Antichrist named Adam is hanging out with his friends as a relatively normal kid in a village in England. And we also have a little side story with witches and witch hunters, which are about prophecies by a witch named Agnes Nutter, who made a lot of prophecies about the future and everything, also about Armageddon. And we follow her great-great-great-granddaughter or something, who's now trying to prevent Armageddon, along with a witch hunter who's also a descendant of some famous witch hunter in the past. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on which might sound a bit confusing, but when you watch the show and also when you read the book, it mostly makes sense. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about spoilers here, not for the book and also not for the show. I'm maybe going to mention here and there if there are differences between the show and the novel, but I'm not gonna give anything huge away, nothing big. Okay, so first off, I really liked the book and I liked the characters. I had some little issues with the book, but overall I liked it a lot. It was very entertaining, and the best part about the book were the characters, especially of course Aziraphale and Crawley, the angel and the demon. And immediately, first episode, when you watch the show, the chemistry between Michael Sheen and David Tennant, mwah, brilliant. It's just perfect casting. They are the main characters of the story, you could say. In the book, they sometimes take a bit of a backseat. There's some parts in the book where it's not about them. It's the same in the show, but they try to keep Aziraphale and Crawley in every episode, and they very much carry the story, and the development of their friendship is very much a focus point in the story. So yeah, I did enjoy watching those two so much. Not only is the acting great from both actors, but together they're just perfect. It works so well, they work so well off each other, and both are very funny in their own way. Like I said, David Tennant's character was my favorite character in the book, and he's also my favorite character now in the show, Demon Crawley. It's just it's just so much zazz in this. And when you see David Tennant come in with all that swagger, you're just like, yes, perfect. And Aziraphale is also very, very funny because he's like a bit uptight and he's like, no, I'm an angel. I can't do this. I can't work with you. We're enemies. And Corley is basically like, come on, let's have some fun. And I love how that works off each other. Well, I liked a lot what the show did with their friendship is they're showing us a lot of how their friendship developed over the years. There is the opening to an episode which is quite a long opening, you could say, which shows different instances in time when Aziraphale and Crawley met and how they became friends. Those were very nice to watch, very entertaining. And their friendship, it kind of takes a bit of a classic part, you know, it has its ups and downs, but it's very nice. And they also, they very clearly have this sort of relationship, romantic touch to them, you could say, which also comes from the book. Like Aziraphale is literally described in the books as that he looks like a gay man or something. I don't remember it exactly. But they also work this into the show. It's hilarious. And it's not like a joke that comes at the expense of gay people or anything. No, like, it works very well. The characters are not like, why are they saying that? No, it's very funny, it works very well. They two also acknowledge that they have a deep friendship or relationship with one another. And just it's seeing those two, how they not only develop as characters individually but also as characters together, is just the best thing to watch about this show. Some of the other characters are the kids, obviously, with Adam as the Antichrist and also his friends. I didn't like the kids that much in the book, as far as I remember. Like, their parts were a bit boring and also a bit confusing because the group of the kids are called them, like the pronoun them, which could be quite confusing in the book, as you might understand. But no problem with that in the show. It's mentioned that they call themselves them, but that's it, basically. And kudos to the kids, like the actors who play these kids. They were very good, I thought. They were not annoying at all, which can sometimes happen with kid actors, as you might know. But no, I thought they worked very well. I was actually involved in their story, what's happening with them. I also understood a bit more how the Antichrist's powers work, because sometimes in the book that confused me a bit. But I think that worked into the story pretty well, and I'm actually surprised how much they kept without giving too much away. But the book readers might know that there's an instance which is super weird, a bit out of nowhere. The only hint I can give, some sci-fi suddenly comes in and you're like, what the hell? They worked that in very well on the show. And the other group of characters we're following are the witch and the witch hunters. Admittedly, in the book, it took me a while to understand those characters or what was going on with them. But in the show, I actually thought they were quite entertaining, very funny in a bit of a different sort of way compared to the other characters we're meeting. We also have a bit of a tiny romantic subplot with those characters, but it's nothing too big, which I thought was good. With the witch characters and the witch hunter characters, we have also like those prophecies coming in. I thought those prophecies worked very well in the story. It was quite interesting because they kind of explore the idea, okay, how much of this do we actually take for granted? Do we just take those words as they were written and act accordingly? Or sometimes they have to work out, oh, what do those words of this specific prophecy actually mean, or what do they refer to? So I thought that was quite an interesting little thing to put in there. Speaking of the actors in general, I'm pretty sure they got like 3/4 of all famous British actors for this show, which was fantastic, because sometimes they got a famous actor just for like one episode or only like one scene. I was like, oh, that's so nice seeing this person in this show for just one episode. Like, without giving too much away, but for example, Benedict Cumberbatch is in this show, and he says like a couple of sentences, And then I'm like, nice, nice that he was in this for just like not even 5 minutes. But yeah, they have a couple of very famous and popular actors. I'm surprised they got so many of them in this show. It's like they were all like, oh yeah, sure, I'll pop in for an afternoon and shoot some scenes. Sure, why not? That was so cool to see all those different people you just recognize from all sorts of shows and movies if you watch British entertainment a lot, like me. So yeah, those little surprises were quite nice. Speaking of British, the humour and the style and the feeling of the show, I thought it's very British. I mean, which is understandable given the fact that the original story was written by two of Britain's best and most popular writers, I'd argue at least personally. And if you like that sort of British humour, which is a bit dark at times, but also wonderfully weird and charming and a bit odd, then you'll feel right at home with this show. The story of the show is very similar to the book, I'd say. Like it's been a couple of months since I've read the book, but I've read up on the synopsis and everything of the finishing the show. And as far as I can say, the show stays very true to the original work. I mean, it's not set in the 90s anymore, it's set in modern times mostly, but that doesn't really change that much about the story or the characters. So the overall story is the same, like how it plays out and how it ends and everything. That's mostly all the same. It's maybe just a bit different in the details. At some places they also add some stuff. For example, there's the character of Gabriel, and we have some other archangels and all that, and they're not really in the book, but they are a very nice addition, and the actors who play them are very good, I thought. And I was surprised how close they actually stuck to the novel, but that is, I mean, Neil Gaiman wrote the script for the show, so of course he would not change anything too much, which I think is good. It also ensured that they kept a lot of the humour, a lot of the just general charm of the novel and its characters. And I noticed how much they actually took from the novel, like direct lines and descriptions. For example, the very first episode opens with a narration, which is actually the voice of God, which I thought was cool. And it's word for word, I think, like the first page of the novel. So that's great. They also put some lines in there, direct dialogue that comes from the novel, obviously, but also stuff that's just like in description in the novel, but they put it into the dialogue of the show, which if you have read the book, you immediately notice it and you're like, oh nice, they actually put this in there. And it's where a lot of this witty humour comes from, also from the descriptions, not just from the dialogue, and I'm glad they were somehow able to work this stuff directly into the dialogue of the show. The only problem I could see someone might have with the story is it's also pretty much the same in the book, I think. The climax might be a bit, I don't know, underwhelming or at least unexpected. If you have read the novel, you obviously already know what happens. They don't do it that much differently, I thought. If you haven't read the book and you just watch the show, I don't know, I could maybe see some people being like, hang on, that's it, that's how everything gets solved. I might see like the problems some people might have with this, but for me, I think it's perfect because it's perfectly in line with the style and Neil Gaiman's writing and Terry Pratchett's writing, of course, as well. So it's not that surprising, really, and it works. Like they managed to wrap up everything in a satisfying, for me at least, a satisfying way. But yeah, I think you maybe kind of have to see how you take the ending. Yeah, like I said, for me the best parts of the novel and also of the show are definitely when you're with Aziraphale and Crawley. But what I think the show managed quite well is to make the other characters interesting too. Because I sometimes had a problem with the other characters, with the kids and the witch hunters and all that while I was reading the novel. But the show, I don't know if it's because it's not now a visual medium and I can see and feel the characters interacting and everything, but you know, I think they managed to make the slightly boring parts, if you want to put it like that, of the novel interesting, or at least engaging in the show, which I think is very, very good. But because that's where those slight divergences maybe come in from the novel, but you know, those details they change from the novel, they actually make the show better, I think. So I have absolutely no problem with that kind of stuff. Maybe I should also shortly address the music, because people who have read the book know that, for example, Queen is quite the, well, big part, or at least running gag little thing in the book. They work in Queen's music so well, and as a big Queen fan I was like, yay, they worked this in and it works so well. And also in general the music is nice, especially I have to talk about the opening. The opening is so cool. Like, the music directly goes into your ear. After 2 episodes I was already humming the opening melody along. And also the look of the opening I thought looked like so good. I just love that style. I don't even know how to describe, but kind of, it's not quite comic, but like maybe comic-esque drawing style, which tiny bit of Monty Python in there maybe as well, I'm not quite sure. But if you've seen it, I think the opening was also released before the show. It looks really cool and it fits the show so well. Okay, maybe to wrap this whole thing up, I love this show. It's not only a great adaptation of the original novel, it's also a great show in and of itself. The characters are definitely the best thing about this show, which is not only due to Neil Gaiman's wonderful writing, but also to the brilliant acting from, of course, Michael Sheen and David Tennant, because they work off each other so well. But also all the other actors are very entertaining to watch. It has this odd, weird British charm and you just can't help but like. I think if you like British entertainment stuff in general, you're definitely gonna love this. And even if you're not familiar with that sort of thing, I think you'll have a good time with Good Omens, because also while I was reading the book, I thought this is unlike everything I've ever read. The whole concept, how it plays with like those religious stories and religious symbolism and religious characters, is so interesting and done in such a funny and witty way that you just can't help but think, huh, this is interesting. So yeah, if you haven't watched it yet or had any doubts about watching it, please go and watch it. It's a fantastic show. I don't know if they're going to do a second season, because they pretty much did everything in the novel, so I don't know if they might do something else. If they do, I'll certainly watch it. I mean, as long as it's written by Neil Gaiman, I'm fine with everything. So I hope we might get more, but for now, this first season is nearly perfect as it is. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Good Omens. Have you seen the show yet, or have you read the novel, or both? Do tell me in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. I hope you enjoyed this little review. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done that already, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.